series Evil Lynx 2, The Haunted Investigation, Ep.6, Terrifying Survival, Battle, the Strange Creature in the Abandoned Village. At the edge of the village, Alyssa spotted a house much larger than the others. It sat in the center, standing out with its old but ominous appearance. The wooden door was wide open, revealing a deep, dark void inside. Despite feeling uneasy, an invisible force seemed to urge her forward. Alyssa took cautious steps, and the wind outside seemed to fall silent as she approached the entrance, as if the house itself was waiting for her. Entering the large house, Alyssa carefully moved around, her faint flashlight barely illuminating a few steps ahead. The air inside was suffocating, thick with the smell of mold. Old curtains fluttered slightly, as though hiding some horrifying secrets. As she ventured deeper, she realized this wasn't just an ordinary house. On the rickety, dust-covered shelves, Alyssa found old documents and faded photographs. They chronicled strange events that had occurred in the village: disappearances, bizarre rituals, and images of local children who seemed to have mysteriously vanished. Alyssa began trembling as she flipped through the pages, sensing that everything pointed to a tragic ending. As she was engrossed in reading, a sudden sound echoed behind her. Heavy footsteps dragging across the rotten wooden floor. Alyssa quickly turned, her flashlight immediately shining into the eerie darkness. In an instant, a shadow darted across her vision, fast as lightning. A chilling gust of wind hit her, and before she could react, something from the darkness lunged straight at her, attacking with force. Alyssa fell hard onto the floor, her flashlight slipping from her grasp and rolling into a dark corner. In her panic, she struggled to fend off the mysterious creature pressing down on her, its foul, deathly breath suffocating her. Heart pounding, she fought desperately as its cold claws gripped her arm, trying to drag her into the shadows. Meanwhile, Nick and his girlfriend had reached the desolate field, where thick fog enveloped everything in sight. As they ventured deeper, suddenly, a woman in a red dress appeared in the mist, her presence mysterious and ghostly. Her eyes seemed to beckon them, and Nick and his girlfriend couldn't look away. Without realizing it, they hurried after her figure, weaving through the dense fog. When they finally stopped, they were startled to find themselves in an abandoned village, the cold, eerie silence pressing down on them. As Nick and Nancy stepped into the abandoned village, an unsettling atmosphere surrounded them. The dense fog and unnerving silence were broken only by the sound of their own footsteps. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air from afar. Nick froze, his eyes filled with worry as he looked in the direction of the sound. "That's Alyssa!" he exclaimed, his heart racing. Without hesitation, Nick and Nancy rushed toward the source of the scream, sprinting past dilapidated houses, oblivious to the faint shadows lurking in the mist. They called out Alyssa's name as they ran, but the only reply was a chilling silence. As they neared a large house, another terrified scream echoed from inside. Without delay, they burst in, only to be met with a horrifying sight. Their flashlight beams cut through the darkness, revealing Alyssa being dragged into a corner by a grotesque creature. The creature's eyes glowed an ominous green, filled with malevolent intent, as a suffocating aura of death emanated from it. Nick quickly shined the flashlight directly at the creature. As soon as the light hit it, the creature growled in fury, releasing Alyssa and retreating, disappearing into the thick shadows. Alyssa collapsed to the floor, gasping in terror. Nick and Nancy rushed to her side, trying to help her up, their flashlights scanning the room, but there was no sign of the creature. The deathly silence settled over the house again, though the lingering sense of dread remained in the cold air. Nick knelt down and helped Alyssa to her feet, his voice filled with concern. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Alyssa shook her head, breathing heavily but trying to remain calm. "I'm okay. But that thing, it was terrifying." She clutched her arm, still aching from the creature's cold claws. Nick helped her up, while Nancy stood nearby, her eyes scanning the surroundings, as if anticipating something else to happen. The three of them looked around the house, their flashlight beams casting light on the dust-covered relics. But what caught their attention the most were the old filing cabinets sprawled across the room. "There's something here," Alyssa whispered, her gaze fixed on the piles of dusty papers. Nick cautiously opened the drawers, pulling out yellowed papers and black and white photographs, all documenting the village's history. As they sifted through the records, they uncovered strange details about the village they had accidentally stumbled upon. The notes spoke of an ancient curse, mentioning a woman referred to as the cat-faced woman. According to the village's legend, this woman had the power to control cats and trap the souls of children. Nancy frowned as she read, murmuring, "This village was cursed. Things got worse after 3 children went missing years ago." She paused for a moment, eyes scanning the disordered texts. The 3 children disappeared without a trace. And after that, everything in the village changed. Villagers reported seeing a strange woman with cat-like eyes glowing in the dark. After the disappearances, the village fell into ruin. Crops withered, disease spread, and people started vanishing mysteriously. Alyssa sighed, a cold shiver running down her spine as she listened to the chilling story. And then the village was abandoned, left to decay. She muttered, her eyes drifting toward the window where the darkness and fog still loomed outside. Nick spoke quietly. The cat-faced woman. This curse might still be active, even now. He looked at Alyssa and Nancy, trying to suppress the growing fear in his chest, unable to deny that they were facing something truly terrifying, a supernatural force still present in the village. Nick glanced around the decaying house, the rotting wooden walls, and the eerie, howling wind outside, sounding like ghostly whispers. He turned back to Alyssa and Nancy, his voice firm but resolute. "We need to leave. This place isn't safe." Alyssa nodded, though the worry in her eyes remained. "But I came here with Camilla. We got separated in the fog. I can't leave her behind." Nick, Alyssa, and Nancy left the dilapidated house, splitting up to search the village for Camilla. They combed through each crumbling home, calling out her name, but only their own voices echoed back in the cold mist. The winding paths in the village confused them, making it impossible to find their way. As time passed, the encroaching darkness became more menacing. "She's not here," Nick said, his breath heavy after checking the last house. "We need to find a way out before something worse happens." Alyssa hesitated, looking around the village, the feeling of dread growing. She didn't want to give up, but the danger closing in around them was becoming undeniable. "Maybe you're right, but we have to come back for Camilla later." They quickly retraced their steps, hoping to find a way out of the village. But strangely, all exits seemed to have vanished, as if the village itself was trapping them, refusing to let anyone leave. Every path led to a dead end or brought them back to where they started. Nancy, panicked, checked her phone, her hands shaking as she stared at the dark screen. "No signal," she exclaimed, her voice filled with fear. "Everything's cut off, like we're completely separated from the outside world." Nick looked around, cold sweat running down his back, the situation becoming increasingly tense. Just as despair began to creep in, a sudden sound pierced the still night. A scream from the nearby forest, desperate and terrified. Alyssa's heart leaped. "That's Camilla. She's out there." Nick frowned, skeptical. Why would she be in the forest? Though confused, none of them could afford to hesitate. They immediately dashed toward the forest, where Camilla's cries continued to echo through the night.